All right. Hi, this is Anna Bisak, and I'm here today with Jeanette Landin, who's going to tell us a little bit more about her work. So, Jeanette, I'll start by having you, can you tell us your job title and where you work?
Hi. So I am an associate professor of professional studies at Landmark College in Putney, Vermont.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit more about what your job entails?
Oh, I wear many hats in my job. Um, I, of course, teach courses. I also help develop courses. I'm part of the faculty senate, which means that all of us faculty make decisions about our jobs and how we want them to be. And I'm the vice chair for the senate. Um, and I also advise upper division, so just juniors and senior students in our communications and entrepreneurial leadership program to get them where they want to be to graduate on time and help them find what their future path is. And to add one more hat to all that, I also coordinate the same program to make sure that our courses are offered, that they're correct, and everything's aligned. So I have a lot of different little things I do as part of my job.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thanks. Can you tell us a little bit more about your educational background and how you came to be in this kind of work?
All right, so this is where it gets interesting. I started originally as looking for a bachelor's in aerospace engineering. And after the first year, after no, it wasn't statistics, calculus and I decided to part ways with a C, and really blowing calculus-based physics. I changed my major and went for a degree called social ecology, and I minored in criminology. Thinking, okay, cool, I'll be a criminologist. And I did that for about a year. I was a probation officer, and I didn't do so well as that. I was 21 and had seen way too many serious offenders by that time. So got out of that field, became a customer service rep, did some other different jobs along the way, worked for a Fortune 100 company for a very long time, traveled all over the country. And one day, after I'd gotten my master's degree, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I want you to teach. And could you teach accounting?" Which I had done as a side job on and off and part of my job for different years. So um, she said, "Hey, I'm the associate director of this college. Can you come teach for me?" And the first time I walked into a classroom, I was so nervous. I had never wanted to be a teacher ever. And I remember shaking really hard. And once I got past the nervousness, I realized that that was where I was meant to be. And that was 14 years ago. And I can't imagine doing anything else besides education at this point, because I just absolutely love a lot of things about the job. So
That's great. And that's a great lead in to my next question, which is what are some of your favorite things about your job?
people,
Mm.
plain and simple. My students are, I've taught students from all over the world, very literally. And I so much enjoy hearing what brought them to pursuing their career, why, why are they taking my class? Because I teach a lot of accounting, and that's not one of those really glamorous classes to take. But, for me, it's exciting. And what I love about my job, besides the people, is that no day is ever the same. I mean, yes, it might look the same right now in our COVID era. I'm teaching from home a lot, but even on campus, I have my same office to go to and then my classrooms, but no day ever is the same. And finding that student and helping them see what path forward out of their stuck situation, that's one of those things that just absolutely lights me up. Also, the time in the classroom, where when a student gets it and you see that aha, oh my gosh, those were some of the best days of my career.
That's great. What are some of the things you find the most challenging about your work?
Well, Landmark College works with people with learning differences. That's our primary focus and that's our mission. And one of the most challenging things is I have, a student with this learning difference, and it's really a challenging one. And I have to find a new way to teach whatever the topic is. And it is really challenging sometimes to uh, try, we'll try method A, B, C, and I don't stop until I
Mm,
find a way that they understand. That's it's challenging, it's exciting, but sometimes it's really scary because I don't know. I'm just gonna, you know, uh,
mm,
Google that out and find what other people have done and come up with something usually on my own. Sometimes it's a game,
mm,
whatever it takes, and that it's challenging, but that's one thing I love about the job.
mm. That's great. And you already said you don't really have a typical day, but can you walk us through kind of what any given day, like maybe a day this past week looks for you?
Okay, so a given day, the one day I'm on campus right now is Wednesdays, and a given day right now involves uh, a couple of meetings, probably when we were on campus, and hopefully be able to return to it. It would involve me prepping my classwork for the day, involving printing out any handouts for the class, going over my class agenda to make sure that I have everything all set up, all lined up, all the tools work, websites are loaded and available, because I do a lot of different things in class. I'm not one of those talk and lecture type teachers. I talk for 10 minutes and we do an activity and then we talk about what we learned type. That's what I do.
Mhm,
And a typical day just involves prepping for the class, teaching the class, talking with students, throwing a couple of meetings here and there, and that's pretty much. Oh, and then there's grading. Yeah, okay,
mhm,
because students want to know what their grades are,
mhm,
and so that's usually peppered in there too.
mhm. Nice, thanks. What do you think would make someone a good fit for this kind of work?
You need to be creative and flexible and curious.
Mm,
Um, Teachers, they don't, I mean, yes, they have teacher manuals and all these, this is how you teach this, this is what you're supposed to do. I was never trained as a teacher. I did my doctorate in education, but I didn't train to go to teacher training school or anything like that. Um, I just looked at what I liked about classes and didn't like about classes, and um, so you got to be somebody who is, willing to consider what don't you like about classes and teaching. If you're one of these that loves lectures, great, go for it. But you have to be creative, willing to look at yourself and your behaviors, your likes, your dislikes, and how others might consider that. So
mm,
it's for
mhm,
me, I know that some people don't like lectures, some people don't like videos, some people don't like this, that, or the other. So I try to mix it up, and that's where creativity comes in. You have to be really creative and willing to try different things that either have been tried before by somebody else or make them up, and be willing that failure is an option. Sometimes
mhm,
activities go sideways or people don't get, and you, after you've prepped everything, and be willing to be humble about it, that okay, that didn't work so well, how can I make it better?
mm. Great. If a student is interested in this kind of work, what would you recommend that they do to continue to explore it? Like, is there volunteer work or classes or projects at home or part-time jobs or anything like that that you would recommend?
I would recommend, if you have the option, to be a teacher's assistant. That's one way.
Mm,
I would also take a look at maybe taking an education course or two to see what the different philosophies of education are, because there's a bunch of them out there. Um, you might also consider uh, doing different public speaking type things to see how comfortable you are in front of a group. And what happens when somebody throws you a question that you can't answer,
Mhm.
or if you do make a mistake, because that does happen. Uh, what else? And if I would also encourage you to take a look at what field you really like. So for me, business has always fascinated me because it's the story of humanity and our decisions and interactions on different levels. And so for whatever reason, I've found myself throughout the years always gravitating towards business. But when the defining moment for me was when I started my doctorate, and they said, "Do you see yourself going back into working in a corporate position,
Mhm.
or do you see yourself being a teacher?" It's like, no, I want to be a teacher. And so I'm fascinated by business. Um, and I prefer to be on the teaching side of it because I did so many different things through my career that I had a basis to draw from
Mhm.
to to make all of these it can be boring, and I know that
Mhm.
uh, business lectures come to life.
That's great. Um, and then what kind of education or training do you think a student should be thinking about down the road to help them succeed in this kind of work?
Okay, so if you want, it depends on what uh, level of teacher you want to be. Do you want to be
Mhm.
teaching in elementary, pre pre-elementary, high school, college? Once you decide which group you're comfortable with, then you can decide which degree you need to go for. If you want to teach high school, I believe you've got to have a master's
Mhm.
degree. If you want to teach at the college level, it's a doctorate.
Mhm.
And then you don't have to make that decision. Know that you do not need to make that decision right now.
Mhm.
You can volunteer with working with kids, working with, um, teenagers, uh, working with as a teacher's assistant at the college level, and find out, what do you like, what
Mhm.
are you comfortable with, and then that'll help you say, okay, well, okay, for me personally, I love my children. I have two teenagers. I would never want to
Mhm.
teach a teenage class, and I've assisted in lower in elementary classes and would never want to do
Mhm.
that. I'm most comfortable teaching young adults.
Mhm.
And so knowing that, okay, that tells me I'm going to be teaching college. And so therefore I had to get the degree that would enable me to teach college.
Mhm. That's great. Thanks. Anything else you would like to share with students about your work?
Well, the one thing I would tell you is the degree you're working towards now does not define your life. It
Mhm.
doesn't define what your career is going to be. You may get a year into your career and go, oh God, I don't want to do this. Or it's just not what I thought it was going to be. And it's that where you end up, whatever job you do now or coming out of college may not be at all what you end up in 20, 30 years from now.
Mhm.
Be willing to accept that as you grow, you'll find more interests, and it the right path will open up for you once it just kind of know what you like and be aware of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you, Anna.